Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Nav Sultan. This is Sultanic Thoughts, and today I am going to be talking about my ayahuasca experience. About 9 years ago, I was in Peru, and that's basically the birthplace of all this. That's where it all came from, and something was drawing me to Peru for about 2 years. Something just kept saying Peru, and podcasts I was listening to would kind of talk about it. And everywhere I kind of looked, there was kind of like, signs of Peru and signs of this ayahuasca. And about a couple of years earlier, I was in an island in Bali called Gili's Island, and me and my friend were walking around, and we found this like kind of bar you could buy joints from, and they had mushroom shakes. So I told my friend, "You want to split one?" We've never done it before, and he's like, I was hesitant, but I kind of convinced him to do it, and we did it, and it was a really good experience. I felt that my ego started to dissolve, and I became very, very, very clear on a lot of things in my life about, things that I was going through with money, how I was kind of treating certain people in my life. And I found it made me a much nicer person, a much more human person. It stopped being about, the material dunya world, as they say in Islam, and it was more about just, the essence of life. And I remember at one point I saw a guy who was a little bit older than me, and he was on the beach with his little daughter. And I always feared, having a daughter when I was younger. And I just remember, watching this guy take his daughter to make sandcastles and be on the beach. And I just found it so beautiful. And I kind of wanted the same thing for the first time, where I've always been like praying to God, I hope I don't get a daughter. I hope I don't get a daughter. It totally changed my perspective on having a daughter. So that experience was so good that when I learned about ayahuasca, and Joe Rogan was talking about it, I started doing my own research. I watched a few documentaries. I thought, oh, this is going to be like that, and it's probably going to be it's going to be an even better experience. So I'm in. So about um, 9 years ago, I booked a trip to Peru, and I was going around in the south, like Cusco area and stuff like that. And there was these tour guides saying like, "Oh, you want to do ayahuasca? You want to do ayahuasca?" And I was like, "No, I want to experience it with real shamans, and I want to experience it in the jungle, because there's a town called Iquitos. It's a jungle city, jungle town, and that's kind of where it originates from." So in my head, I'm like, I'm going there, I'm going there, I'm going there. But at that time, I was had this affiliate campaign going and was making me a lot of money, and I was just focused on that for now. And the internet was kind of crap in that area, so I went to this beach town in the north called Huanchaco, and I stayed kind of at this surfing hostel, but I had my own private room. I wasn't bunk bedding it, but I basically picked that place because the pictures on booking.com showed like an office desk that was available to you. So I was like, I'm gonna grind out from that desk, grind out of that place, and I'm going to surf and just enjoy the beach life. And I love that town. That town has this charm to it. And when I was there, there was somebody living at that surfing hotel, hostel, whatever you want to call it. Uh, Coco, his name was. And I became friends with him. And one day, when I went to knock on his door, talk to him about something, there was a girl there, who later became my girlfriend. And I just remember talking to him and having this girl kind of stare at me and look at me. And I just turned, looked at her, and I wasn't like instantly attracted to her or nothing. But I just remember like being drawn, like something was there. And, you know, I went to the gym, and in the gym, I was like, I think I should talk to that girl. So I asked Coco, I'm like, yo, is that your girlfriend? Are you trying to smash that? And he was like, no, 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 no. that's just a friend from high school. I mean, from university. And then I'm like, can I smash it? And he's like, you can try. Like the way he said it was like, good luck. You know what I mean? So I was like, all right, cool. So I told him, let's go out, let's go eat dinner. I'm gonna pay for it. We'll bring her along. So we bring her along and stuff. And as we're sitting in the chair, it's like a table like this. Sorry, it's a table like this, and it's a four-sided table. And Coco's sitting on one end. I'm sitting across Coco, and the girl, she is sitting in between us. And I put my foot under the table to rest on her foot. I'm just trying to like test out the scene. And I see she kind of leans her foot towards me. So I was like, oh, okay, this girl's feeling it. This girl likes me. And then, long story short, I told her I had some hot sauce in my hand and I put it on her ears. And I'm like, I want to lick this hot sauce off your ear. I licked it. I started kissing her. And then we started dating. And we moved really fast as usual. Whenever I really like a girl, I like to go bam bam bam, go hard. And the money that I was making at that affiliate campaign, it took off, and I ended up having this penthouse, the best penthouse in the beach town. And she was living with me, and we were having our disagreements, whatnot. And I remember being so overwhelmed with work. I had like an $80,000 month. I had a really, really good month, but I was like beyond burnt out. And I told her, I'm like, let's go to the Amazon and let's do ayahuasca, and then let's travel the world together. I was just gonna take her with me and, handle all the bills. And she quit her job and we ended up going into the beach town, sorry, that jungle town called Iquitos, right? So I'm just trying to explain the beginning and what I was going through at that time. I became really, really in love with this girl. I really thought I was gonna marry her and stuff like that, and have children with her and stuff like that. Just really intense, And I'm learning now that intensity isn't really love; it's kind of chaos. But we'll talk about that another day. So that's kind of what was going on right before, and then when we got to this jungle town, Iquitos, we were going around, and I was checking different places, and then one night I was at this restaurant cafe by the river, and there was this American guy there. And one thing led to another. I started talking to him about it, or I think we talked to the waitress, and the waitress said, "Talk to that guy over there." So I went to him and I introduced myself. I said, "Hey, what's going on? My name's Nav. We're looking. This is my girlfriend, and we are looking to do ayahuasca." He's like, "Yeah, I host packages." I'm like, "Where is it?" He's like, "In the jungle. It's 8 days. It's 4 sessions, 4 ceremonies." And I was like, all right. And then he told me the price. I was like, all right, that's cool. And then I'm like, who are the shamans? And he's like, well, the main shaman, he's 72 years old and he's been doing it since he was 8 years old. So he comes from like six, 7 generations of, you know, Amazon shamans. So I was like, okay, this is going to be as authentic as possible because I wanted the most authentic experience if I was going to do it. I didn't want to do it, with a group of tourists and stuff like that. He's like, it's going to be a small group. It's going to be 8 days. We're going to go out in the jungle and stuff like that. And he's like, just before the ceremony, don't have sex, don't have salt, and don't have red meat. There were just certain things to get ready for. And I was like, all right, that's cool because I didn't want to cheat myself out of the experience. Now, this guy was an American and he was trying to get his shaman license as well. So he was training to be a shaman, but he was organizing the trips. So we end up going to the meet point one day. There was a guy from Belgium. There was another girl from Denmark, I think, but she was like Middle Eastern. And we get in this boat and we start going into the jungle where we're supposed to go. And it was a crazy experience. I'm like, there's tarantulas climbing up the trees, and we are like legit in the Amazon. There's like baby crocodiles floating around, and you just kind of look at the people in these regions as we're going to the kind of the center. And it's it's like you can tell they're just living under different rules, different principles, and they're so disconnected from the world I come from, the world most of us come from, right? So we get to this place. Long story short, we go into this hut and we do the first ceremony. And they pour the ayahuasca into a bowl like this, right? It's a bit smaller, it's a wooden bowl. And notice the bowl, the first half of the bowl is not the same, doesn't hold the same amount of liquid as the top half, right? The top half is always going to have more liquid than the bottom half because it's curved, right? It curves upwards. So the first day he fills up half the bowl and he gives it to me, and I drink it, and I'm waiting there, and this whole time I'm expecting like a mushroom experience, like my ego dissolving and me just having really clear thoughts about everything and really connecting with my heart and whatnot. And at some point, I think I threw up, and then I laid back and I closed my eyes. And as I closed my eyes, I started to have this beautiful visual. It was like a neon pastel kind of, dream. Okay. I don't want to say hallucination. It was just a dream because my eyes were closed. And it started with my mother looking much younger, drawn in pastel, pregnant, holding her stomach. And then from there, it's like it started to play out like a dream show for me with colors and just a very, very beautiful art show, as I would like to say. And I was very meditative. I was trying to meditate in this state, and I was falling deeper and deeper in it. And I thought, wow, this is very nice. This is very nice. And at some point, maybe like 10 minutes later, a snake pops out in front of my face. All this turns into a snake facing right in my face. And I remember leaning forward at the snake, like, bring it. Like I was ready to confront this snake. And the whole experience went away. And the whole night I was sitting there trying to meditate, trying to get it back, trying to get it back. And I couldn't. I couldn't. And I told the American guy, I said, hey, man, like, I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything. And he was like, just that's your first experience. We want your body to get familiar with it. Don't worry, there's three more ceremonies. I'm like, yeah, but like I was like so horny to have the real experience because I was basically waiting for this for like the last 12, 18 months. I was anticipating this, and I started to get a little bit frustrating. But I was also noticing that my breath, the way I was able to breathe was so deep. I could really breathe into my stomach and squeeze my stomach in and get my diaphragms and literally breathe into my balls. It was one of the most amazing things ever. I never thought I could, like, my breath control was next level. And I was like, there's something here. There's literally something here. If from a physiological level, I'm able to experience this kind of change because I believe, breath is basically the most important thing in life. You can go, 30 days without food. You can go 5 days without water. You can only go like 2 or 3 minutes without air. So, we are breathing creatures. We need breath before anything. And I just basically sat there the whole day and just playing around with my breath the rest of the night. And I started to just kind of one by one think about people in my life and realize how many people actually do love me and care about me and are interested in me. But I've always lived my life like people don't care about me, right? That's always how I view things. Like this person doesn't care, that person doesn't care. So I guess it's like my own abandonment issues that dictate that kind of perspective. Now, the next morning when we wake up, I start bugging this American shaman, like, bro, what the fuck? I want the real experience. Give me the real experience. I waited 12 months. I want to go into the dark. I want to go into the dark. And he kept saying, tranquilo, relax, Nav. It's going to happen. We're going to slowly give you a little bit more. I'm like, nah, it's my birthday. Tonight's the night. I want to get it, just really being really pushy with this guy. And he kept trying to be hesitant or whatnot. And we finally go to the hut again at night. It's nighttime, dark, and This is where it gets crazy. The shaman's son comes over and pours this halfway again. And I look at him and I'm like, bro, it's half again. The American shaman says something to the other shaman, like da 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 in Spanish. And I don't know what they're saying, but I know that the shaman's son is saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" And the American guy's like, "Yeah, that's kind of he wants it. Give it to him, you know." So they fill up the whole cup, and he gives it to me, and I see everybody in that room, my girlfriend at the time, and the two other, uh, you know, people that were signed up for the ceremonies, and then all three shamans just looking at me like this as I'm holding this bowl. And I'm holding this bowl and looking at it like, dude, once you drink this, there's no going back. Like, you are literally at the mercy of this bowl. And I know that if I finish this bowl, I'm going to experience something that I've never experienced in my life and might never again experience in my life. So I sit there for a minute or two just looking at it, and everyone's kind of quiet. And then I'm just like, this voice comes in my head. It's like, F it. Bah, I drink it all, every single drop. I put it down. I look at everybody, and everyone's kind of looking at me like, yo, this guy actually drank the bowl. This guy's crazy. And as soon as I finish drinking that bowl and I pass it on back to the shaman to fill it up for somebody else, this dumbass American shaman goes to me, Nav, whatever you do, don't freak out. Like, you do not tell people this stuff. Like, people with the most basic level understanding of the subconscious mind know you do not put these kinds of thoughts in people's heads, because if I tell you don't think of a close your eyes and don't think of a pink elephant is going to keep popping up into your mind. Uh, so I'm like, what the fuck? Why did he say that? Why did he say that? And then about like 10 minutes into this, I start feeling some panic. And I tell this guy, well, I'm freaking out. And he goes, relax, relax, just relax, just relax. And then I start to like say, okay, I'm just going to meditate. I close my eyes, I start meditating into this stuff. And next thing I know, I start speaking some kind of tongue that I've never spoken in my life, and singing in a voice. And I was like, oh, yeah, like, I'm really going into this right now. And I just basically get blasted into space. I leave my body, I get blasted into space. I remember at one point, I felt like I was talking to my friend's father that just died. And I just started to go into this world that felt like I was kind of surrounded by gods. And it felt like there was just levels and levels and levels and levels and levels of the soul that we are not really experiencing yet. Maybe at some point we will. Maybe that's what happens when we die. We take a new form. But it was really intense. And I just kind of left my body. And it was positive at first. But at some point in that second ceremony, I basically was looking at myself from the third person. So imagine me standing behind myself and looking at myself making this video. And I was curled up in a ball, naked in space. And I was sitting there with my conscious mind thinking, am I dead? Is this what death is? You know, what's going on here? And it just was like this 2, 3 minutes of just kind of observing myself, motionless, curled up in the fetal position, butt ass naked. And next thing I know, I come back into my body and I start throwing up like a lizard, like a reptile. The way I was throwing up and the noises that was coming out of me was like literally like a alien reptile. I was throwing up from the pits of my stomach, and it was intense and just covered in sweat, just sweating and sweating and sweating and sweating and sweating. And then I started to just ping pong between, because now it's like you're getting to the height of it. So when you're coming back, it's like you're going into your body, which is your conditioning for the last, at the time, I think I was like 31 or something, 32. you're dealing with that conditioning where you've lived a life of high stress, you've lived a life of, insecurity, you've lived a life of ego, you've lived a life of arrogance, you've lived a life of, grief, sadness, whatever it is you are. You're experiencing that after being really disconnected from it. And then you're also playing around with, the DMT that's kind of taking you to a next level. And it was hard. It was like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I just kept thinking, like, please, I just want it to be over. I just want it to be over. And the more I resisted it, the more intense and scary it got. And then when I would like really let it go, it started to become a more beautiful experience. But I started to realize that, hey, bro, like you have a lot of work to do outside this ceremony. There's definitely some things that are going on in your life and in your body that you have been suppressing. And you have to get those in check. And, you know, there's some other stuff. I'm not going to get it. It's just like, it's minor things. But I remember at some point, like looking at my ex and thinking she was the most beautiful thing in the world. It just like, it triggered me so hard and it stuck with me. And next thing I know, when I look to my, like this is hours later, I look to my right to see where she is and she's not there. Right. I guess my experience was too intense that it was ruining her experience, was making her experience dark and negative. And she ends up like fucking off into the corner, lying down, and they're trying to like, help her and stuff. And, this thing starts wearing off, wearing off, wearing off. And then finally, when they turn on the lights, I'm like sober again. And I feel like I have no hate in my heart. It feels like I've forgiven everybody for everything. And I feel really powerful. And everyone, around me was like, I want what you have. I want what you have. They're like, whatever state you're in, that's what I want. I remember them being really drawn to me. Even the shamans were kind of like, oh, this guy really, 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 processed some things during the ceremony. And long story short, next day we wake up, we go for a tour around the island and stuff like that, in boats, and I think we took a break. That night was a break. And then the following night, we were going to go do it again. And I just remember my ex being a bit distant from me. I felt something was off. And, but I was still kind of in a good place. And then around where the sunset started to drop, I started to get these dark flashbacks of when I was, curled up in the fetal position, naked, and thinking that I'm dead. And I started to really get this reality of, am I in a simulation? Is this all a simulation? Is my mom real? Is my mom just a thought? Is everybody here just a thought? Is my girlfriend just a thought? And it started to get dark. This anxiety, this sketch, as you want to call it, started to creep into me. And it was really hard to deal with. And I started to get really, really, I started to feel broken. As much as the high was, and the morning was good. I was in this place where I was really clear minded and really, friendly and loving to everybody. I started to get this dark sketch, and it was hard. And you don't really you don't really run to your girlfriends when you have these intense kind of issues. It scares them away. And I was trying to like explain to her what I was dealing, and I was looking for comfort, but all it did was freak her out. It made her, it freaked her out, and the dynamics of our relationship started to really change. She started to distance herself. She would leave. I would be in the room. She would leave the room. I would leave the room to find her. She would come back to the room. She was just trying to distance herself from me as politely as possible. And then the third experience, we go there. I'm more respectful of this ayahuasca, and he just gives me like a half a bowl or something, a little bit more. I'm like, don't give me a full one. I'm not dealing with that anymore. He gives me, whatever he gives me, I drink it, and I had a lighter in my hand because they give you these like cigars in during the ceremony you can smoke. I think it's called wachuma or something. So that night I was just smoking them one after another, and I had the lighter in my hand, and every time it got too intense, and I felt like I was going to that place where I was curled up in the fetal position, where everything becomes a simulation and nothing becomes real. I would grip my lighter to come back into this thing. I was literally fighting this experience the whole third day, and it was very exhausting. And I started to just really reflect on, life and society, like wars, for example. Like whenever I would think about war and the fact that there's people in this world that will literally, start wars and kill a bunch of people and ruin people's lives just for money, I felt like throwing up. I would get extremely sick, and I started to think about the ways I was making money at the time online, and I started to get sick with myself, and it was like throwing up, and I kept trying to resist it by holding this lighter. And then, when everything finished, I didn't really share my experience with everybody. Usually at the end, everyone goes around and shares what they experienced, what they learned. Everybody was happy. I wasn't. And I just remember my girlfriend, not sleeping near me that night too. So I started to feel like something is about to pop off. And yeah, so then there was a fourth ceremony, and this fourth ceremony, I said, I'm not doing it. This is too intense. I'm done with this. This is not what I thought it was going to be. I feel like it's it did break my ego. It shattered my ego. I thought this is too much. I'm not going to do it. And I stood it out. And then my ex was like, yeah, I'm going to stay with him. And she stayed back at the huts that we were staying at. And I got thinking we watched like Terminator on my laptop or something and just talked and whatnot. And then, yeah, basically we did one more ceremony where I snapped on her. It was a different one. It was a cactus called San Pedro. At the end, they give you the San Pedro. And I remember doing this and her being a cunt to me. And I'm like, I'm done with you. Like, I'm gonna go travel South America. I'm gonna go fucking try every kind of Spanish girl that's out there. And I'm done with you. I'm done with your bitchy attitude. I'm done with your entitlement. And I went outside the the temple for and I just remember looking at the sun and feeling so good. I felt like I reset. I feel like I literally, the downer that the ayahuasca was, I had kind of fixed myself and realigned myself with the San Pedro. And then once it started getting dark, the American shaman came in. He's like, "Oh, come inside. I'm gonna sing a ceremony." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. You guys go. Like, I'm good. I want to stay in this space that I'm in." And he starts singing his ceremony. There's a word for it. I don't know what it's called. And everything got dark again. There was just something demonic about that guy. And looking back at it and the way he would sing it, like he was trying to put spells on people. And I got on tilt. And this was like I was losing it. I started breaking stuff. I said, "Fuck this place. I want to go back to the huts. I don't want to stay here." And then like two of the guys came, like the son came out with him, and they kind of looked at each other in a way like they were gonna tackle me because they didn't know what I was gonna do. And I'm looking at a brick on the ground, like, dude, if you try to tackle me, like either both of you are dead or I'm dead. Because like I'm not in this place right now where I'm thinking about, anything else. I'm in as flight or flight as possible. And I remember my ex came down and she was like, "Nav, I love you." And I just snapped on her. I said, "Shut up. Like, you don't, honey." I just lost it. And then finally they gave up. They said, "Fine, we'll take him back to the huts." And I went back to the huts and I slept alone. And then the next day, when they came back, my ex was trying to act all happy, like all was good and stuff like that. She wouldn't talk to me, you know? And then we ended up going back to Iquitos, the town, and she's like, "Nah, I don't want to do this anymore." She broke up with me. I lost it. I tried to leave Peru that night. I ended up getting stuck in Lima because there was no flights to Colombia. And the next day I went to Lima and I basically spent the next 100 days just traveling up through South America, trying to escape. I was really trying to escape. I'd walk like 14 hours a day. I did Europe and South America in those 100 days. I went all over Europe. I was just walking every day, 12 hours, 14 hours in France and Italy, ended up going to Morocco, went to a lot of places. I was really just trying to escape my own mind because whenever I would be alone, I would start thinking about, the dark moments of that trip. And I would get kind of these flashbacks from time to time, especially if I smoked weed. I would get these ayahuasca flashbacks. And what then the final part of this is that I was kind of lingering with this PTSD from it because it was too intense for me. I literally did too much and I wasn't in a good state when I did it. And I should have never done it with my ex. I should have done it separately because she's going through her thing, I'm going through my thing, and we don't really have each other to kind of help each other to get through it for support. We're looking for support because I guess she had some crazy things going on too, and just dealing with that and the breakup of somebody who I thought I was going to marry was definitely too much for me to process and handle. I basically didn't open my laptop for like 8 months. I had a $80,000 a month business that was on the up, and I just totally abandoned it. All I did was just walk around Europe and try to cope and not process the grief. It was too much to deal with, and the intensity of that second experience. And it wasn't really until I got to Thailand and my friend was like, "Do you want to do a mushroom experience?" And I was thinking like, "Yeah, maybe this will fix me." And I remember doing it with like four people, and at some point I got crazy flashbacks, and I just got up panicking. I'm like, I gotta go, I gotta go, I gotta go. My friend's like, where are you going? Like he was scared the way I abruptly changed my mood and got up. I'm like, I don't know, I'm gonna go home. And I remember trying to drive home, and there's street dogs in Thailand, and they're all just going crazy. As soon as they see me, I can see like the fear in their eyes, and they start barking because they're very intuitive animals, and something was off about me, and they were picking it up. I'm like, I gotta hide in my room. I gotta hide in my room. I'm hiding in my room. I'm putting water on my face. Like I was literally like setting off very intense vibes at that moment. Like panic, fight or flight, whatever you want to call it. And I just remember my TV being on with Chromecast and things getting too intense. And I told myself, I'm gonna arch my back backwards like a tarantula and do a yoga pose to get my mind off this. And I do it, and I can feel my mind calming down, calming down, calming down. Then when I couldn't hold it anymore, I came to sit forward. The the calmness went away, and then poof, the Chromecast connector of my TV blew for real. This was for real. It blew, and I was like, "Oh my god, did I just blow an electronic in my house because of the state that I was in?" And I realized frequency. This word just came frequency, and I was like, "You have to change your frequency." And that was like basically the height of the PTSD of the ayahuasca experience because mushrooms it kind of balanced me out of that intense state. And I just remember sitting on the balcony that day and looking at the mountains of Phuket, and there was lightning happening on the other side of the island. And I was just eating a papaya and just really thinking frequency, like change your frequency, tune into a different frequency. And that's what I did. And it got better and better. And, thank God now it doesn't bother me at all. I'm very disconnected to that experience. I think I've gotten over it. And I've gotten over the chick too, which is really good. That one took a bit longer. That's another story. And would I recommend it? That's kind of the end of this video. Would I recommend it? I don't really say so. When I got there, I was expecting to see a lot of normal people doing it. And when I got there, I just saw there was a lot of weirdos. There was a lot of people with weird haircuts, tattoos. Like they were too far gone into it. It became their identity. And I was just like, I wasn't expecting it to draw this kind of crowd because when I would watch the documentaries, there was like normal people, blue collared people, guys that got divorced, women that got divorced, and my views really changed about it. And the main thing about it is that if you want to go and explore your mind, the limits of your mind, there is literally no limits. You can go as deep as you want, as far as you want, and you have to be careful because when you go too far into your mind, it's not easy to come back. And I don't think that the point of life is to sit there and go into your own abyss and then get lost in it. That's psychological suicide, in my opinion. Life is more about, being, you know, conscious of yourself and others, and trying to pursue change, improvements in yourself, becoming a better version of yourself, and trying to, help the people around you, start families, and be a happy guy. I've seen people that go down the route of their mind, and they're not really the same people. They push away a lot of family. They push away a lot of good people that love them. And like I say, if you want to go into the limits and the depths of the abyss of the mind, there is no limit. So would I do it again? No, definitely not. I have no interest in doing it again. The only thing that I'm interested in is finding out how to regulate my nervous system to that point within the ceremony that I told you. I was breathing deeply because every time I did it, I just had this master breath control. I've never been able to force so much air into my lungs and into my body and exhale so deeply and basically control my breath. And when I look back at it, it does have healing properties. I guess it does really reset your nervous system because it did do that for me, but it kind of changed me too much. And I just want to stay away from things that change your personality. I don't smoke weed anymore. I don't drink. I don't do really anything like that, because I want to maintain my personality and work on things like, the shadow, the ego, whatever it might be, in a holistic, healthy, natural manner. I think that's the real goal, and not to use these things as a crutch. An 8 hour DMT experience is very dangerous. It's very dangerous. A lot of people don't tell you this stuff, but to be on there for 8 hours, you'll get humbled more than you could ever imagine. And you have to ask yourself, are you ready for that? Or do you think you're ready for it? Because a lot of things will come up that you don't know about, and it can change you for the better. I don't, there's people that love it and swear by it. But for me, it just really set me back. And I think if you do it, maybe do it alone. Don't do it with like your partner. Had I just done it alone and my girl not done it, uh, she may have been better for me to handle the post, experience episodes that I was dealing with. But when she got shattered, I got shattered, and it was like a double whammy. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys like the video, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I know the story's kind of all over the place, but I'm just kind of freestyling it. I had some notes of the stuff that I wanted to talk about. And like, subscribe, and we're going for the streak. One video every day for 30 days, and then one video every day for 1 year. Like, subscribe. Thank you guys.